construction, coming home from work, to parents and their children going to church. A happy little baby drools on your shirt. What an extraordinary day. Let us have a world of ordinary people, living life the way God wants us to. And if we have a world of ordinary people, extraordinary things will happen to me and you. A child in the distance, playing in the rain, the sweet sound of water flowing away. A construction worker coming home from work, to parents and their children going to church. A happy little baby drools on your shirt. What an extraordinary day. Let us have a world of ordinary people, living life the way God wants us to. And if we have a world of ordinary people, extraordinary things will happen to me and you.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me? Your voice, okay. Your volume is a little bit low. Dr. Musa is here, right? Thank you. Welcome, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for the invitation. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening. Good evening. We are welcoming everyone. Belumi, over to you. Can you increase the volume of your device, Belumi? It's very distant. I don't know if it's just me.
Is it better now?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Good evening, everyone. How's been a day? Hope it was a good day. It wasn't so stressful. All right, so we'll be going right now into what we have today. So, as you join the webinar, please just introduce yourself and tell us where you are joining us from. If you are one of RespoHealth volunteers, you can indicate one of RespoHealth volunteers, and you can indicate your cohort. Thank you very much. So please introduce yourself as you join the webinar. It's a pleasure to have our guest speaker here, Dr. Oluwatoyin Mwach. I don't know if I'm correct with that pronunciation.
Musa.
Okay, Musa. Okay, sorry about that. So Dr. Oluwatoyin will be okay, I think Dr. Oluwatoyin will be is our guest speaker for today. I also have our host in the house, like the CEO of RespoHealth Africa. He's also our second speaker for today. So as you join in, I know some people are joining in. As you join in, please introduce yourself in the comment section. Please introduce yourself on the chat box. Just introduce yourself. Tell us where you are joining in from. All right. So right now, I'll be handing over to Dr. Oluwatoyin for the first session of the webinar. And okay, before Dr. Oluwatoyin comes up, I just want somebody that you are sure of yourself. Can you just type the theme of what we are talking about today. If you are sure of yourself, just type what is our topic today. Just type it on the chat box. So I just want to see if you're on the same page.
Okay,
Nobody's saying
I think people can also introduce themselves in the chat box. So, and we appreciate if you log in with your full name as well. So you can use the chat box to introduce yourself. If you want to unmute yourself to introduce yourself apart from the speaker as well, please go ahead.
okay, if you want to unmute yourself to introduce yourself, please, you can just raise your hand so we don't have so many people speaking at the same time. All right. Okay, so I'll be calling Nurse Koshola right now before Dr. Luatoyin to talk about RespoHealth Africa, what RespoHealth Africa is all about. Thank you, ma'am.
All right, welcome everyone once again to today's webinar. And like we said, if anybody can remember, you can put in the chat box, what are we talking about today? Okay, so the topic for today, of course, like we all know, is elder abuse and neglect management within an African context. So before then, I just wanted to take 30 seconds there and see what about. So if you can mute yourself, I want everyone please mute yourself so we have a very good recording there. So as you're joining in, please introduce yourself in the chat box, where you're joining from. Are you a RespoHealth volunteer? What cohort are you? Who invited you? Where did you get it? And just introduce yourself in the chat box. Thank you so much. So let's take a moment to see what is RespoHealth and what we do.
A child in the distance, playing in the rain, the sweet sound of water flowing away, a construction worker coming home from work, two parents and their children going to church, a happy little baby drools on your shirt. What an extraordinary day. Let us have a world of ordinary people living life the way God wants us to. And if we have a world of ordinary people, extraordinary things will happen to me and you.
Thank you very much. So that's just like a little video clip there to tell us about RespoHealth. So again, I'm going to share with you it's just a little slide to tell you what RespoHealth is about. My name is Olayinka Aremu, and to the glory of God, I happen to be the founder of RespoHealth. So RespoHealth didn't just happen like that. So what is RespoHealth? So we are a group of non-governmental I'll say organization, what we are focused on in promoting responsive healthcare for the elderly in Africa. So we started last year, 2021, December actually, and what motivated our start was because we wanted to give back. We wanted to give back to the community. We wanted to give back to the elder. So we all agree with me that the elderly in Africa have been, I would say, have been neglected for a long time. So we are here, to bridge that gap, to make sure that their health is not neglected. So we started with 50 volunteers throughout Africa, but by God's grace, at the moment, we are over 250 volunteers across Africa. So we are aimed at, helping community dwelling older adults to remain safely in their homes. We want to delay and prevent hospitalization. We want to promote their well-being generally. So we act as a link, to specific services for these older adults and their caregivers. So we offer a lot of wellness programs, and this is one of them. We have monthly webinar, nutritional support, educational programs, and about health and aging and counseling services. So we also support, these older people with general assistance with their housing, finances, home safety. So one of our major vision is that we want to promote comprehensive health care for the elderly in Africa. So we use comprehensive health assessments. We were able to do a care need assessment. I think that was February, or was it, between February and May, early in this year, for selected elderly. We do ed promotions program, ed mobilization interventions, and advocacy. So I think this webinar is more towards mobilization and advocacy, as well as promotion, all in all. So our mission is to provide compassionate care to promote integrity, respect, safety, and utmostly like integrated care for the elderly. So of course, we are a team of healthcare professionals and non-healthcare professionals. So it doesn't matter if you're not a nurse or you're not a healthcare worker, you can be part of us. We know that every person is unique and irreplaceable, so we value, sameness. So like I said, we use this approach basically for all our interventions, health assessment, health intervention, health promotion, and advocacy. So we go through that cycle to make sure that we can make our healthcare responsive for the elderly. So far, we are growing anyways, our leadership team. So the person that started, if maybe you heard her voice, that's the program director, Oluwapelumi, in Nigeria, and myself, I've introduced myself. I'm a resident here in Ireland, and our marketing team, Adewumi is there to be, and Mohammed is from Sierra Leone. He's heading the team there in Sierra Leone. So lastly, like I said, our maiden project was the Christmas meal for the elderly, where we raised funds, just to feed 10,000 elderly in local communities in Africa. We were able to reach, I think, about 100. So I know we can do more. So that's where we started from. So so 6 locations were reached, 2 countries, 16 volunteers, 150 elderly beneficiaries, and we deliver food package to the elderly ones. But we want to do more. Then the next project we started, which was the project 2020, is the total care package for the elderly, where we aimed at reaching 10 locations and 100 elderly to provide them with a complete health package, total care package. So it's starting from health assessment, health intervention, and health advocacy. We are still, in the process of this project. We've done the care need assessments. That's what I'm going to show you next. So we started the care need assessment with a care need assessment workshop where we train volunteers, healthcare professionals, and caregivers how to assess the care need of the older persons. So we started this and followed by the care planning, care intervention. So it's still in the process anyway. So if you want to volunteer with us, you are gladly welcome across Africa. So you could just let us know. Probably you are not a volunteer, you're just joining us. You can just put in the chat box there and let us know if you want to be part of us. Thank you so much. So that's just a brief introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Ola. Thank you, Nurse Koshola, for that short summary about RespoHealth Africa. So right now we'll be going to our first session with our guest speaker, that is Dr. Oluwatoyin. So right about now, I'll be reading Dr. Oluwatoyin Musa's profile.
Okay, can we have a video on so I can put the spotlights? Thank you.
Dr. Oluwatoyin Musa is a nurse passionate about creating change in the health sector and bringing healthcare to people's doorstep. She has a master's and a doctorate degree in public health from Tasila American University Consortium and the latter from University of Ilorin. She is presently a lecturer at Kwara State University. She is also a member of Professional Association of Public Health Nursing Officers of Nigeria. She is the CEO of Premier Hospital and Home Care Services. Director General at KTN Foundation, Director of Premier Health and Management Consulting, Director at Center for Wellness and Creative Art Therapy, KWASO, Chairman, Women and Grassroots Development Committee of the Cycling Federation of Nigeria. He's also the Vice Chairman of the Media and Publicity Committee and member of Marketing, Sponsorship, Planning and Medical Anti-Doping Committee. Can you join me to welcome Dr. Oluwatoyin Musa? It's a pleasure having you here, ma'am.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. I want to say good evening to all the participants. Pelumi, please, can you share the screen?
Oh, okay.
Yes, I've sent to your email. Please share the screen. By way of protocols, I would like to recognize the CEO of RespoHealth Africa and ATSI. I want to also acknowledge all participants that are present. I thank you so much for the invitation. I'm glad that you see why I should be invited, and I promise to do justice to the presentation within the context of Africa and by way of giving real-time experiences of what we have been doing also at the Premier Hospital and Home Care Service, especially as it's related to this topic. The concept that will be guiding this presentation is as follows. We look at the concept of aging, elder abuse and neglect. What exactly does it mean? Types, and then the root cause analysis. How does it look like, to compare what we have in Nigeria and situation in other lands? By that I mean situation in other African continents. Bridging the gap, Nigerian legislation on aged, then I shall be concluding on that remark. And I'll give some recommendations and summarize. Whether we like it or not, all of us will go through the aging process. There's no doubt about that. Please, can you all hear my voice?
Yes.
All right, excellent. And I will also like you to share the screen. I mean, to share the slides, yes, as I move on, so people can enjoy and follow. I'm trying to give description about aging, and I just want to be brief as much as possible. I started by saying, for as long as we pray to grow old, for as long as we pray for longevity, every individual will go through the natural process of aging. And so all of us must undergo this phase of life at our own time and pace. And the more reason why it is important for us to understand today's topic, such that as we grow old or as we have opportunity to be with the older adults, we'll be careful of not be involved in abusing them, or we also be careful about neglect. So in a broader sense, aging reflects all the changes that take place in the course of our life. These changes start from birth and it ends until, when individual akin to the call of nature. And this time around, I'm talking about death. So young individual, aging can be exciting because, they are just going through it and then they see themselves undergoing their adolescent period. They're excited. They're, I'm 20 years old, I'm 25 years old. But you see, the moment you hit 50 years old, you begin to understand the declining, you begin to feel these processes. And so you are being extraordinarily careful. So slow and steady physical impairments and functional disability are noticed, resulting in increased dependency. And so this is the time we will need people around us. This is the time we probably want to depend on our children, on our relatives, and it is important for them to also understand and give the elderly what they need. And that is why I take time, almost about 15 to 18 slides, talking about what aging is all about, giving, even the the WHO definitions, talking about the dynamic that happens on the system. Let's go through all of this. I may not have enough time to actually dwell on the key concepts. But again, we must understand some things. And so, because I'm going to be sharing my slides at the end of the day, it will enable the listeners to understand some of the rudiments. For example, the causes of aging have been presented on the slide, and I want everybody to pay particular attention on stress as it's foster early aging. In Africa context, you agree with me that we go through a lot of stress that I can term as external stress. At work, people stress you or you either stress yourself. But the fact remains that stress will naturally occur. And so we shouldn't be bothered. If you must get promoted at work, you have to go to certain stress to do certain normal concepts for you to get that promotion. So you can't avoid stress. That's my point. However, because aging will naturally take place, we should be careful of the bad aspect of stress. So traditionally, age 65 has been designated as the beginning of old age. And so we must be careful. We must prepare because we will surely go through the phases. When we look at types of aging, we have biological aging, we have psychological aging, we also have the social aging. The biological aging basically occur, gradually as the cell undergoes its own damaging processes, and then changes in hormones and the likes. Some common signs and symptoms that we can experience in terms of biological aging are increased susceptibility to infection, greater risk of stroke or hypothermia, especially heat stroke.
I think network is frozen there. We can just keep our eye on the screen.
Any hindrances?
Musa, your audio, like your network is kind of, I think we lost her there. She'll come back in. Okay, apologies there. We will be back shortly. Please, if you have any question pending, maybe you've had some questions before you joined in, you can either write it down somewhere or you can type it in the chat box and we will take your questions or your any contributions afterwards. Thank you very much. We hope she joins us back soon. Yeah, I think she.
Yes, I'm back. I hope everybody can hear me.
Yes.
Okay, excellent, excellent. I want to thank all of you again for your patience. Yes, I have talked about the biological aging, and I was trying to make a kind of position that when you see yourself aging, you ask yourself, oh, so you can do things ordinarily without any assistance, you can no longer do it. Please, I would like you to project an image that shows, these processes of growing old. I have a graphic there. Please, can you go there? It's on slide 23. And that is where I am, because I just want to give a preamble and then go hit the real discussion. So you can see from birth till death. And so images look like up until when you have this very old woman. There's still another image. Can you go to the next slide, please? Am I audible, please? Hello? Yes.
Hello, my
Yes.
lord.
Okay,
We
okay,
are
good.
hearing you, ma'am. We are hearing
Okay,
you, ma'am.
okay, good. So you could also see this other, you know, from boys, you know, to gentlemen, and then to the man with gray hair, up until using, you know, wheelchair. So basically, if you look at the theory of aging, it explains why our DNA changes, how there is damage, you know, the gene expression errors, the protein becomes less functional, cells don't die when they're supposed to. And this will take us back to the meiosis and you know, those stages in both physiology and even anatomically. But again, what we should take home from here is whether we like it or not, aging will definitely set in. So, elder abuse, which of course is our focus of the discussion. What exactly does it mean when we say elder abuse? Elder abuse is a salient problem that robs seniors of their dignity. It robs them of their security, and in some cases, it costs them their lives. Elder abuse includes physical abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, exploitation, neglect, and abandonment. And so, it is amazing to know that the perpetrators are actually, you know, domiciled within the family. They can be abused by their children, family members, even their spouses, as well as they can be abused by those who even give care to them. For instance, older people can experience abuse, any form of abuse, from those who are nursing them, those who are assisting them to live. Perhaps they have self-care deficits, and somebody is in charge of their care. They can also be abused by this group of people. And they can be abused by other facilities. So, the forms of abuse that are readily available based on literature, you know, has to do with the physical abuse. And this means inflicting physical pain or injury upon older adults. We see this often in African settings because people feel that they can do things and get away with it. That does not mean even in the developed countries, older adults don't face any form. They do, but it's limited when you want to compare it with what we have in Africa. You see the analysis as I move on. Sexual abuse also means touching, fondling, intercourse, or any other sexual activities with the older adult. When the older adult is unable to understand, unwilling to consent, threatening, or physical force, especially those who perhaps have dementia. When they are already forgetful, they don't even understand their environment. People take, you know, opportunity of all of this and they get them abused. Emotional abuse from verbal insults or assault, threat of abuse, harassment, intimidation. It's quite you know, embarrassing when you are faced with older adults and you're asking them some questions and they're giving you instances of when and where they are faced all forms of abuse. So confinement also means restraining. It's a form of abuse itself. And so it means restraining or isolating an older adult other than for medical reasons. I need to explain further here, because if you are faced with adults, or elderly with psychiatric problem, we have instances where even when we are caring for them, we may restrain them. That is understandable. But any other form of restraining that is other than medical reasons, constitute form of abuse. So there can be neglect too. When you refuse to give them attention, you refuse to act into their needs, you neglect them. And older adults also face some of neglect even from their caregivers. For example, passive neglect is a form of caregivers' failure to provide an older adult with life's necessities. It can be very challenging caring for them. I must mention this, especially those of us who have first-hand experience with them. It can be very challenging. It can be very demanding. Even the older adult can also abuse the carers, But again, we must just do what we should do. So when you fail to provide an older adult with life's necessities, maybe basic life necessities like their food, shelter, including but not limited to all of this, their medical care and so on. You could have a willful deprivation, means denying an adult, from their medication, medical care, shelter, food, therapeutic device, or other physical assistance, and exposing them to dangers or risk. It constitutes forms of abuse. I'm already on type 3. Please, I want you to flow with this slide. Please, Pelumi, as you are rolling this slide, please flow with my presentation. Thank you. So there can be financial exploitation, and this means misuse or withholding of an older adult resources by another person. We are faced with all of this. And if you look at the magnitude of the problems, you will agree with me that we take things for granted in Africa, Nigeria inclusive. So let's look at the magnitude of problems. Nigerians depend on their children at old age for their well-being. We have numerous research in these areas. Statistics have also documented that they depend on their children for their well-being. Pensioners find it extremely difficult to receive their pensions regularly. Please project the magnitude of the problem. Thank you. Many parents live from hand to mouth and mouth to end to mouth again. So it's quite difficult, for them to feel themselves. It's quite difficult for them to enjoy, what they labor for, because you realize that they are not being paid their pension. So there is high unemployment at all levels. So even those people that older adults depend upon, they're also unable to meet up their needs. So a research from some of the people that care for older adults, especially those in those we call social welfare, providers. We try to find out from them, and they thought that there are documentations that these groups of people are, abused. From this slide, a research about Nigerians' attitude to the elderly showed that Lagos, a city of about 20 million and more people, have just 5 old people's home. And in Nigeria, about 13, people's home serving Nigeria. Look at our population. Even as of today, when I was also trying to look at the current literature, I cannot find anything different from what I have. So you can see that we need a lot. And so when we get to recommendations, some of the recommendations revolve around some of the magnitude of the problems. So in urban settings in Nigeria, elders with physical and psychological challenges are forced to retire. Once they reach retirement age, they face abrupt decline in their income and can feel less self-worth, or even depression can set in. So you see a host of challenges, and then you pity this group of people because they are readily abused. Even if you look at the problems that are presented here, you realize that we need to do a lot. So, do we have policy on aging in Nigeria? Yes, we do. We really do. And the development of the policy document on aging for older persons in Nigeria began in 2018. There were so many other people that make some presentations, even at the cities at the Senate in Nigeria. You know, there were instances where some people have presented bills that there should be some forms of documentation that will guide how we care for our elderly in Nigeria. So we have documents, and I'm happy to tell you that this document, has been circulating, given to people to look into, and I want to urge all participants here present to also look into it. So for Nigeria, the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs and Social Development, following the 1999 Constitution of Federal Republic of Nigeria, as amended, which guarantee the right of every Nigerian. So the Federal Executive Council had already ratified the National Policy on Aging for older persons in Nigeria. And I'm happy to tell you that on the 10th of February 2021, at the FEC meeting, that's the Federal Executive Council meeting, which was presided over by our president, that's President Muhammad Buhari, they have already, stamped this document. Even though when we look at the document, we also saw that there are gaps, but that is not what we are here to look into. We are here to also identify what do we have in Nigeria, what do we have in other continents. So let's look at the situation in other countries. I said we have documents that guide us in Nigeria. We have documents that tells us exactly what we should do for our older adults in Nigeria. But again, we have so many other instances where there are gaps. So look at this situation. The statistics gotten from other countries vary. And so I'm starting from what we have from the US. It shows that about 42 African countries have different types of social, security programs, including pensions, providence funds, unemployment benefits, family allowances, and other benefits. And so I asked myself, while I was reviewing this literature, why should we have this variance in all of these documents? So the following countries have extended their social security arrangement to incorporate benefits for these vulnerable groups in Africa. Let's look at what happens in Mauritius. They have this population, and so they have insurance scheme. They take care of their older adults. They pay their pension, and then they take care of their dependents. At the Republic of Seychelles, population of about 1 million people. Yes, you may wish to say there are not many, but again, if you look at our own population in Nigeria, just about 5% out of the 200 million plus, take care of that of our older adults. So if you look at their per capita, under the 1980 Unemployment Fund Act, the Social Security Fund provides subsistence income for unemployment persons. We don't have that in Nigeria. Even we have so many political statements. We have so many programs based on political expedience. We have instances where our president and the vice president have gone out to give 5,000, 13,000 to people, but that has actually not solved any problem. So Kenya, a population of about 40 million people, GDP per capita is this, and they also have Social Security Fund law of 1965 with 1966, 1971 to 1987 and 1997 amendment that covered the formal sector and some workers in the informal sector, including farmers. If you look at our document, we do not have this. And so For South Africa, they have this population and they have their law, that take care of widows, the disabled respectively, and about 100% government funding scheme that provides for all South African citizens with limited means, excluding those maintained by or cared for directly or indirectly by state institutions. So the situation in Nigeria, because this is important when you're discussing any form of abuse, it is important to look at what we have, because I use Nigeria as a case study. So Nigeria has some legislation with social safety nets relating to the formal sector. This includes the 1961 Provident Fund Act number 20 and the 2004 Pension Reform Act, which provide enabling regulation for the National Social Insurance Trust Fund to introduce a social insurance program for unemployment benefits without providing for the statutory benefit to cover the vulnerable groups in our society. And this is where we have the problems. This is where we have the problem. And like I said in one of my slides, people even forge their age because they have this insecurity. They don't want to disclose their age. And so you see people claiming they are 65 years, looking older than their original age. Why are they doing that? Because they feel unsafe, that even when they, retire, how early is their gratuity going to be paid? So we have problems. The social insurance schemes have limited coverage to workers belonging to the formal sector of the economy. So those without coverage are the most vulnerable, and they belong to the informal sector of the economy and are unemployed. If you look at the other Africa, scenario that I presented, based on what I got from literature and based on the facts of what they do, they even provide for their farmers. So they are generally not protected. They are generally not protected also in old age, and they cannot afford to pay their healthcare bills. We are clamoring for national health insurance, but the question we should be asking ourselves is, does it cover the people within the community? Even those in the urban settings, how much of this have they explored? So this creates a lot of gaps if you want to compare from the African scenario that the paper has presented and what we have in Nigeria. So this has accounted for the high mortality rate and low life expectancy in Nigeria, because this group of people constitute a large proportion of our economy. I took a walk to stroke units, in one of our government-owned hospitals. I don't want to mention specifically because of ethical concepts. And when you look at the stroke ward, where you have both male and female, where you have, people who cannot just help themselves, you realize that their relatives still pay out of pocket. So they're not really being covered by the NHS, and it's one of the things that, of course, can cause neglect, because relatives are overburdened. Kids are also, their children who they depend on solely are also probably not getting salary. And I want to make an inference from the current ASU strike. How does it look if some of our colleagues who are currently experiencing strikes have older adults that they're catering for? Please tell me where they want to get the money to pay their hospital bill. So the situation in Nigeria is ugly, and I am unapologetic for using the word, because the situation actually is ugly, is quite, it's quite disheartening. So people circumvent the rule because that people forge their age, they don't want to disclose. And even apart from that, they should be age 65 before they retire. I'm talking about education generally at the higher level now, you realize that but I ask myself, if things are actually put in order for older adults, do you think I will want to work till 70 years in the university? I mean, what hire on time and enjoy, my package? But the package, the question again is, as I went due in Nigeria. So how do we bridge the gaps? How do we bridge this gap in the developed world? By the time I'm done with this presentation, I will also request my colleague from Ireland to please share. You will agree with me that it's not the same. It's not the same. So the issue of social security is neglected in the new Partnership for Africa Development. We were talking about Millennium Development Goal initially. Now we are talking about sustainability. As a reflective writer, I find it extremely difficult to see what exactly the differences are. We are only rigmaroling. We are only trying to do that we were unable to achieve, and then we're calling it sustainable development. I do not know the acronym or whatever they will call it. I think we have a lot to do. That's just it. And so you see the scenarios on how we're going to bridge the gap. So it's a call for Nigeria to rise up to the challenges. It's a challenge. We are not doing well. We are not doing very well. I'm not saying anything. No, that's not my position. But my position is, if you ask me to put it on a scale of 10, I'm sorry, or this score that I would give. But we just have to search our conscience. We just have to look at the scenario and then do well. Yes, we have the documents. We didn't have that document for it. And it's amazing that just 2021, the document that talks about how to focus on elderly was released. I mean, we have looked at, the concept of aging, and because I said I don't want to, bore us, I'm also time conscious, you don't want to waste anybody's time via webinar. So by the time the slide is shared, you'll see how I've been detailed information on aging, its process, and all of this. And again, for the concept of the abuse, distinguished participants, as far as Nigerian literature, we have issues of abuse. And so the solution, like what exactly, which I will just speak to. The government needs to do a lot. They just have to ensure that the social security, because everybody will grow old. And so if we don't prepare for our older generation, how do we secure their living condition? Because even from this presentation, you will agree with me that there is also a form of abuse from government, because you see pension for 4-5 hours because they want to collect their token. Some of them got their health issues escalated. We have some of them who developed so many complications. It's quite appalling. But again, we are recommending We are recommending to the society to also do this. And those of us who are also in their care, we should be conscious that this group. So there's need for us to strengthen our law. If you go online now on social children, but I put it to you that older adults are also experiencing form of sexual abuse. So it have been, discussed, how much of it have been also presented, even in terms of, from the other side of it, like the family also needs to be careful. Yeah, a personal experience with you will be marveled. We have some groups of people that we abandon their aged. They won't bathe for them, they won't do anything for them. Involve the care of former home carer. I urge everybody that have listened to this presentation to please help our older generations, because like I said initially when I started my presentation, that for as long as you wake up and you pray for longevity, you're going to experience the generative stages that old age will bring. I want to thank the organizer who made this presentation, and I sincerely thank every participant. I do not take this session for granted, and I want to believe within the context of what I've presented, I've been able to do justice to it. I thank everybody for listening.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you, ma'am. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, yes, we can hear you.
Okay. So thank you. It's been a wonderful session. In fact, I was just so keen listening to you there. I like the way you started, unraveling the situation right from the beginning, talking about the history, the concept of aging, how we grow, how we age, because it's really important that our listeners and everyone understand that we all are going to age one day anyways. I wasn't like this last year or 10 years ago. But my mom recently visited me here in Ireland, and my daughter, who is 9 years old, she was asking some questions from her and saying something like, what was mommy doing when she was my age? That tells us that we're growing, we're going to age eventually. So I really want to thank our speaker for starting on that note. I'm going to add you to the spotlight here. I want us to share like the room together. Yeah, so it's such a pleasure to have you. And again, thank you, Dr. Oluwatoyin Musa, for honoring our invitation even within the very shortest time. Also like the way you kind of talked about national policy. I'm really interested in that. National policy for older people. There's just sorry, I don't know why that is coming, Gary. Can you all hear me now? Thank God.
Yes, I can.
To mute somebody that starts back. Okay. So thank you so much. So as I was saying, I'm really interested in that policy. Like I was looking forward to that. So thank you for mentioning that. We're going to discuss a little bit about that. I don't know if you have a copy, if it's already in the circulation. I'll be interested to take a look about that. So to our audience, to all our volunteers and everyone joining us, let us give a round of applause once again to Dr. Musa. You can use the virtual applause, or you can unmute yourself and give it there, or you can type it in the chat box. Thank you so much, Ma, for honoring our invitation.
Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
so much,
Thank
ma'am.
you,
So much
everyone.
to you.
Yes.
Thank you,
so much.
everyone.
Yeah. Thank
Dr.
you.
Musa, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you, Dr. Musa, for the presentation.
Thank you
you,
so much,
everyone,
ma'am.
for
Thank you,
coming
ma'am.
up.
Thank you. We love you.
Thank you. Thank
Okay.
you. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone. I love you.
So
I want
what we
to
do now?
give her a special thanks because
Okay.
she's this is Mr. Emmanuel Abraham speaking. Actually, Dr. Musa is my mentor, and I expect so much from her, which she has delivered a very, very good presentation. In fact, she has made me understand that we still have a long way to go when it comes to the abusing of adults, because what we focus on is more or less like child abuse. We don't focus on the adult abuse. And these are the ways we actually abuse the adults, by not focusing on our adults when it comes to their pension, how they will live their life after work. In fact, it's a very, very good presentation, and I've actually gained a lot from it. Thank you very much, Ma, for the presentation.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Emmanuel.
All right.
Thank you.
So we will, if you have any question, please put it in the chat box. I want us to really take this opportunity. We have something hot, hot on ground, and we want to go straight into that. She challenged me to talk about, what is happening in Ireland. So as you know, myself, I'm resident in Ireland for the last 5 years, and I've seen a lot of changes. Now, why am I interested in the older adults? And the funniest thing I'll tell you is that I would say 6 years ago, or let me say 5.5 years ago, if somebody told me that I will be in the geriatrics, specialize in geriatrics, I would say never. Like I never like really like that older, because she already talked about some of our attitude, our perception about the older people. So I've always been like, no, they are too fragile. They are too, no, I don't want to deal with them. I don't know, I don't think I can cope. Sometimes they can be annoying, all those kind of things. So I think again, it's about our environment. When you see what is obtainable in your environment, you kind of want to build your experience and around it. So I was in that situation. I was like, no, I don't want. But coming to Ireland, unfortunately for me, unfortunately now, I started working in a nursing home. So I had no choice. I had to start working in a nursing home, and that's kind of changed my mentality about the older people. It changed everything about how I feel about them, about what to look out for, how I care about them, how I'm committed to them. And from there and then, I hope everybody's listening to me. From there and then, I got so much interested in them. With my background as a community health nurse specialist, I had my master's in community health. And part of our project for the masters was to do health. We had to do some health promotion, health mobilization in the community. So I remember myself and my team, we went into Abagboro. I don't know if anybody is in Ile-Ife, Nigeria. You're from Ile-Ife, Abagboro. So we actually did that in Abagboro. So this is a community, we have a lot of older people. So we did community outreach and all that. So I love the way that we were able to assess them, mobilize them, refer them, promote their health. So coming to Ireland, I thought like, how can I marry my experience as a community health nurse and now working in the care of the older units? How can I? So I decided like, then I need to go into anything that will promote them staying at home, because ultimately, if you research or if you survey what other people want, most of them want to stay at home. They want to die at home. Nobody wants to go to nursing home. Most of them don't want to go to nursing home. They don't want to be institutionalized. Even if they are sick, you agree with me that they would rather be at home, than go to the hospital. Why? It's because the home they already built their life around their home. So anything that will promote, their enablement to staying at home, to even if they are sick, to support them, if they go to the hospital, they go back home quicker. That is my interest. So at the moment, just as just to mention, I'm doing my PhD in care transition, and basically how to promote the transitioning of care for older people from the hospital to the community. All right, so in there, I felt like, okay, RespoHealth, I need to do something back. I need to give back to my country. I definitely need to do something. I have my mom who is aged as well. So some of the experiences I have here and the knowledge I've also used in managing her. So why can't I then extend the same to other vulnerable older people that might not have anybody to care for them, the neglected ones, the isolated one, the forgotten one, so to say. And, I also experienced while I was in Nigeria that you have some older people that even though they were in the hospital, they got sick, and now they are well, they are not able to go home. Why? Because they could not pay their hospital bill. They don't have any family, or their children has neglected them, or even they are the main carer. We have older people up to 65, 70 years old still looking after their children, financially. So it's such an ugly situation, even as Dr. Musa put it. So I felt like, how can we support these people? And that's what RespoHealth. If for those that don't know, where our journey begins. So Dr. Musa, before I call you on spot again, sorry, I know we're taking your time. I just want to share, I know some people were talking about, we're talking about what is obtainable in Ireland here. So Dr. Musa has covered a lot about elder abuse. So one thing I want us to know that there is no excuse for elder abuse. Take that, if you want to write that down, that should be your take home today. Put it on your WhatsApp screen, on your Facebook. There is no excuse for elder abuse. Most other people do not experience abuse. But unfortunately, there are some other persons who can be harmed or abused by others. Another person may also experience more than one form of abuse at any given time. So it's not just about, physical abuse, sexual abuse. Financial exploitation is also very common. Okay, so I will be sharing some links, in the chat box, even after the discussion. So be on the lookout. And there are a lot of resources. How can we recognize the signs? So quickly, this is what I want to talk about. We've talked about the different types of abuse, but how do you recognize that an elder person is being abused? As a volunteer of RespoHealth, or as a caregiver, as the next of kin or children of these people, you need to know, how can you recognize that my other person is being abused? Now, let's talk about physical abuse. How do you know they are being abused? Consider the possibility of psychological abuse. If you are made to feel afraid, if that person is made to feel afraid in your living accommodation. And now this is also to the older person. I don't know if there's anybody, older adult, that will be watching this video or attending this webinar. How do you know that you're being abused? So if you are experiencing feelings of hopelessness or helplessness, that is psychological abuse. Or if you are made to feel tearful and agitated, if somebody is making you feel tearful and agitated, or if that other person is experiencing loss of appetite or disrupted sleep, this could be signs of abuse, and we need to be on the lookout. It is important that we know these signs so we can protect them, so that we can report it accordingly, and we can, make them more comfortable. We can intervene. Now, neglect. Dr. Musa mentioned about neglect. How do you know that somebody is being neglected? If the person is not receiving adequate liquids to drink or food to eat, if their clothes are not being washed when required, if they are not being provided with appropriate clothing for the weather condition, or they are being denied the aids that they need, maybe glasses, hearing aids, somebody is keeping it from them, or even their dentures. If they are being left alone for long periods when they cannot move about easily, they are just left in the chair, you know that they cannot walk and they just ignore them. If they are chair or bed bound and they are experiencing pressure sores that are not being attended to, so this is very common, especially in nursing homes, when somebody is bed bound and they just left in the bed, they develop pressure sores. So this could be signs of neglect. Now, very importantly, which I'm really keen on, and is financial abuse, because I've seen this firsthand, to consider possibility of financial abuse. If someone else has access to the account of that other person without their full permission, if they feel pressure to allow someone else access their account, when someone else is making decision about their money without speaking to them first, or they feel that they have lost control over their money, if the money is being spent by someone else for things other than their bills, their clothes, or food, or if they feel pressure to give money to somebody else. And remember, this could be their own child. It could be somebody very close to them. It could be their next of kin whatsoever, or their spouses. So let us be on the lookout. Physical abuse, of course, we know what could be, the signs of physical abuse. They are treated roughly, they are marks, bruises on their body, or they are violently treated, that causes broken bones, sprain, dislocations. Now, one major thing, I worked in the ED for about 2 years. And if another person comes into the ED, the first thing is we are assessing the skin. We are looking at if there's any bruise or any, we want to see what is the cause of the injury. It could be physical abuse. This other person could have been abused, malhandled, and so on. If someone is inflicting pain on them, so these are signs. Sexual abuse, of course, this is not common, but of course it is happening. If someone has forced them to be intimate with them without any consent, it doesn't have to be the actual sexual act. It could be, maybe forcing them to watch pornography, touch unnecessary touching, and a whole lot of things. So these are some of the things. So again, like I said, I'm going to be sharing so many in the course of our time. We will not go too much. Now, quickly, while I have Dr. Musa here, I just want to share something. We're talking about what is available in Ireland. So I'm going to share this screen now. I won't be able to go through everything, but just so you know that a system, when systems are in place, so these are services for older people in Ireland. I just do this. There's so many services. Now, the HSE, who happen to be like the broad public health, health, HSE is the health service executive for Ireland, like the public government, okay, sort of, that looks after the health. So they provide a wide range of services for people growing older in Ireland. So there are services, there are standards, there are frameworks, there are policies already in place that even as you are growing old, you are confident that you are going into a system that will look after you. I hope you understand. So the supports are also available from other agencies. There are so many agencies, even governmental and non-governmental. Now, home support services, which is something that RespoHealth we are working towards, and we're looking for partners, and sponsors about this. They provide information on services that will help an older person to be cared for in their own home. Okay, so and there are home support approved providers, people that provide these services. So we hope that RespoHealth, we are going to be providing this kind of service to older people in Africa. We are working towards that, and we need our volunteers to be able to do this. There are service arrangement documents. So if I click on each of these enormous, information there, like I said, I'm going to share with us. So we have an idea that we can do more in Nigeria. We can do more in Africa for our older people. There are nursing home support schemes. So here, if anybody is going to nursing home, very expensive, the cost, but the government supports them. They have what they call the fair deal application, where they can, get supported financially to go to a nursing home. Other schemes, benefits and financial entitlements. They have medical cards, respite care grants, and so many. Even accommodation-wise, they are provided accommodation. The government generally focus on accommodation for the older people. They have lots of schemes. Carers and relatives are supported. So in case you are a carer of another person, there are so many carer benefits as well, that you are caring for the person, so you can go off work, you can get paid while you're caring for another person, and so on. Protecting older people, patient private property accounts. So all these, as a lot of other programs that are available in Ireland. And like I said, I will try to share this link. So Dr. Musa, are you here with us? So we're going straight now to the other section. Is Pelumi still here?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
We have a couple of questions on. Please check the chat box. Yeah, we have a couple of questions, and I think it is fair to attend to these questions.
Yeah.
I run through them quickly.
Okay,
please.
Pelumi, over to you. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, those questions. Yes, can you mention the question so I give responses?
Somebody said, is there any commission in charge of elder abuse in Nigeria?
Yeah, sure, there is. And just like I mentioned that we have laws, we have the document also, but a problem is implementation. And again, elder abuse is underreported. So if you don't report it, no one is going to take an action. If you don't report it, and like I said again, those who perpetrate this elder abuse, they are basically the family members, the children. You see children insulting their older adults, even if they come to our own hospital there, we see a lot of things. They're not ready to pay the medical. Sometimes if you have cases of, let me just give a scenario. We not one person to mention the name and the initial, but the person has a multiple system atrophy. It was also very troublesome. It's late now, very troublesome, because at old age, they can be very, very, very troublesome. From my experiences, some of them will tell you they're looking for something, but because in our own hospital, we have a legal framework, the UK model. You know, I'm sure Ireland, they align about 80-something% because I also studied different documents. So we have a lawyer who is our company. Some of these things you see them bringing up, and then you see their family, the way they. So you.
Okay, I think the network is fluctuating there, Dr. Musa.
Okay, some of us may have also abused our parents in the past. That's my point. So there is a framework, there is a legal framework. Even Nigeria has it also now. But the question is, are they reporting these cases for the?
Yeah. We lost her there.
Yes, I said the problem we have is under-reporting.
I agree with you, Ma. I agree
yes,
with you.
It's under-reporting. And I'm saying that virtually all homes abuse their older adults. From my experience, from what we have, even in the hospital, where we experiences with us, you see some of these elderly crying. Some of them want to die. And we ask them why. And then they tell us, you see, all these kids, they don't even have time for them. But again, like I said in one of the slides, so how do we? So we have a lot to do. So there's a legal framework, but if people don't report, there may not be. And you know, from African context, from Nigeria as a case study, we believe in certain things amicably within the family. So there is a whole lot of underreporting. I think someone asked about, do we have a document? Yes, maybe that person document. I said that Nigeria has launched that document, even though it's late, but we can say clearly that we have a document in Nigeria that focuses on how we can manage our because I am a community health nurse, and for my PhD, I focus on gerontology nursing. I adopt standard model of handling these groups. And if you must use us, you have to consent that some documents, my lawyer has to also endorse it, and then we kickstart. Because it involves a lot of teamwork. Sometimes when you are caring for this, to link up with physiotherapists, you might need a neurologist, you might need nutrition. You see that this is one thing I enjoy in doing this is that it fosters team spirit. Let me quickly use this medium to thank all those people that came on board again. I think that I saw Dr. If she's still there, she might also wish to share one or two experience with us. Dr. Boss said, Dero to me, she's there. I saw some of the people from my foundation.
That's
I
interesting.
don't know whether some of my caregivers are on board because they are here.
Yeah, Dr. Musa, can I just quickly ask this question, Dr. Musa?
They are
Somebody
here and
said
there,
that,
caring for people at home.
yeah.
Yes, they don't want to.
Okay, can you hear me?
Older adults. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I was
Am
just going to quickly ask you, because there's a question there in the chat box that are there any legal law that undo elder abuse, that probably if it is reported, remember you said that it's not reported, but if it's been reported, is there any legal law that what's the like legally?
Yes, there is. Yes. And that's why I said there is a framework. Even in Nigeria today, we have a framework. So if you abuse older adults, they're going to take it up legally. It's just like when a child is abused. So there is. The answer is yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you. I know we have a lot. We go on and go on like that. The time. So somebody just asking, Pelumi, you can share the link. Somebody, if you want to be a volunteer of RespoHealth, yes, you're welcome. We are expanding. At the moment, we are actively looking for volunteers in Kwara State because we are looking forward to partnership with Dr. Musa Pania Hospital and Home Care Services. So we have a lot to do. We have volunteers. We have in Ekiti, we have in Ondo State, Osun State, Ogun State, Abuja, Sierra Leone, like I said. We also have in Enugu, we have in Port Harcourt. So we are expanding. So if you are in Kwara State or the nearby, anywhere you are, like you can volunteer definitely. So you can share the link of volunteers in the chat group there. Of course, somebody asking what's the benefits of being a volunteer. We know what volunteering can do. It gives you that platform to be able to, improve your skill in caregiving. And you also have the certificates. It's also like a work experience for you, for some that are looking for certificates of working with older people. So we will give you certificates as well. There's so many trainings. This is one of it that we have done and we are doing and will continue to do on a regular basis. So you can always enjoy this. Some of our volunteers have been promoted to being a brand ambassador, representing the organization. Some of them have been promoted to be a project director, program coordinators, and some of them are representing us in across Africa. So these are some of the numerous benefits that you can enjoy from. There are so many free trainings that like I mentioned, and you can be part of that. So thank you so much. I just want to look at that piece and see if there is any other question. All right, so if there are no questions, I just have a question, Dr. Musa, I wanted to ask you this question. I think I sent that to you earlier. So, and this is just for the benefit of everyone as well. We cannot exhaust this topic. We have to have a second session at another time to really look at these issues. We are talking about management. So what do you do if you realize that somebody is being abused?
Yes.
So that would be my first question. So remember we talked about the signs and symptoms. So if you as a caregiver, as a volunteer now, maybe during your assessment, when you go to assess the elderly, for instance, the care need assessment, and you notice that some signs of abuse. So in the African context, how do you handle that?
Thank you. I would just like to answer based on our framework because I've actually not come across any case of such. And we've been in this business in the last 2 years. However,
okay.
You want to find out. Yes. Am I audible, please?
Yes, just losing out.
Yeah. Yes, I'm saying that I haven't experienced that since we began to care for older adults. However, if it happens, this is what we have in our own documents that we use to operate. Whoever is caring for the person should take history and find out. That's what I call the root cause. What was the abuse? You know, even though this presentation does not cover whether all these aged also abuse individual, which they do, but our focus is which they do a lot. But our focus is if they abuse, if we see, maybe we see scratches, we see something that looks funny, what do? We actually need to take full history, and then we call their, because usually the family members will be involved, and somebody will sign for us as next of kin. That is the person we are going to be dealing directly with. So we ask for our clients are elite, so they can read, they can write, they speak good English. In fact, some of them are still problem. And so we take it off from there. It was now the time to call my lawyer because I don't want to touch anything so that the client will not say I'm the one that abusing, because we have experienced one or two of them that was constantly lying. And you know, lying is also one of the problems of aged. In fact, I had some that would slap my staff. That person suffers senile dementia, you know, and so on and so forth. So what we do is take history documents, we take photographs, but we still I'll just call the company lawyer that this is what we observe, and then he will tell us what to do. He may come, take history and leave. So we also need to care for it. If it is wound, we have to clean the wound. If it has to do with fracture, we have to call orthopedic surgeon. We also have all of these people as part of our group, as part of our team.
Okay.
I think that's it. But we have not really. I'm talking about the framework. That's what we have. But I have not been confronted with any since we have started. Yes,
thank you. I really will hope that, I wish that people could know and the public could know that if you experience or if you witness any other person being abused, who do you report to? You know, just like we have, if there is an emergency somewhere, you can call 911, you can call 222 and things like that. So is there any number? Is there any place to report, or can you go to the police station and report that you witness an abuse? That would be helpful. Yeah.
Yes. There are numbers, but all of these they are just some documents in Nigeria. It's not well implemented. So I've not seen any old age who has said maybe you want to call anybody. But we have numbers. We have emergency numbers. We also have they can call police, of course, yes. And those who are elite among them. I have a client who are nursing recently. He declined medication, and they had to call me that the nurse that was, I persuaded him, but he declined. But the man told me on phone that why will he take medication when he has wrist pain? But the medication that he's taking is for hypertension and stuff like that. So you could see some of the challenges. So there are places that they can actually report to.
Okay.
There are places.
Thank you.
Then involving social workers. I recall somebody asked questions concerning social workers on the chat box. It's there.
Yes. Let me see if I can still get that. Yeah. That's just so much chats come up from there. So it's saying that what are the impacts of social workers in dealing with elder abuse?
That's a contemporary issue. I think all they do is to report. So they report to the appropriate quarters. That's what they do. Yes, they report to and then the appropriate quarters will make arrest if possible.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much. I think I do have one more question there for you, Mark. think I share that. You know, we are talking about African, is an African setting. So, and these are some of the things you'll talk about. I just really wish that we can have specifics. Unfortunately, you know, especially for Nigeria context, we, like you said, we have framework, but the implementation is the problem. My question would be, and I think you've also answered it, what can Africans, the governments now, so trying to split it down, we as Africans, either in diaspora or in Nigeria, or wherever country or your own country, what can we do to assist the abused and abusers? Now, we have some people, like you said, even children sometimes abuse their parents, and sometimes they don't understand that or recognize that as being abused. And that's why we are doing this webinar, so people are aware of, in case you're doing this, that might be abuse, so you need to correct yourself. So how can we, you know, what can we do to assist the abused who happen to be the elderly now and the abusers in prevention and intervention strategies that will benefit the elderly in Africa? That is for the Africans. And then
thank you. For my own understanding, I think from the government aspect, there is a document. So government has already put that into law. So if you, there is no ignorance in law. So I think I want to urge people to lay hands on the documents and then go through it, especially those of us who work in Nigeria and we have one or two things to do with the older adult. That's one. So government needs to also, there's need for them to do more social welfare packages, you know, where if people are paid on time, because whether directly or indirectly, I put it to you, our older adults are also being abused by the government.
Yeah.
They have been abused by the government. When they go to the pensions office, they want to collect their money. Money is not ready. And then the person in the office is also bullying them. It's also saying that I'm busy, I can't attend to anybody. Verbal insults and all of those. You know, we've talked about types of abuse. So I think from the government, if we have government agencies that are part of this session, I think they need to do a lot. They need to do a lot. They should please take care of our older, because they will also grow old. Yeah. From individual, I think we need more sensitization. This session should not just be the end of it. Are you getting it? Because that's the focus now, which is the management. It shouldn't just be a one-off session. There should be continuous sensitization. Let people know that there is you don't have any justification to abuse an adult. I mean, to abuse aged people. There is no justification. So if they are caught abusing them, they should know that they will face the law. And I think we need to also tell ourselves here, because I want to believe we all have aged people. We should be conscious that when whatever we do, whether by omission or commission, may constitute for any form of abuse. If they need to refill their medications, neglect is actually what a form of abuse on its own. I think we need to do a lot. So basically, let have a rethink. Let the documents be implemented in Nigeria. If we have a framework and it's not being well implemented, it's like somebody overtakes somebody and because of God, as if it's God that asks the person to go and do, to get the gist. So I think the same thing is applicable, yes. The same, but you know, in Africa, we hardly report ourselves to police. By the time you report a family member to police, they will tell you that we can't come back from court and still continue our friendship. So they don't look at it from that. Yes, that's one bad thing. Abuse, whether elderly abuse, whether child abuse, whether even abuse in the marriage. If you take your spouse to court, the next thing is you can come back and become friends. So I think our culture is also a problem, and we need to look into that. We have to be flexible and face.
Thank you so much.
We should know that law, nobody's above law.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dr. Musa. In fact, you have said so much. with this topic. We know we still have a lot to do, like you have said, as Africans, the government, the families, the communities, there's a lot to do. Here in Ireland, there's so much, like I said, there's so many networks supporting the older people. There's what they call the alone, and there's Friends for the Elderly. So these are community networks that they just support the elderly. They go to them, assist them, a lot of things. So these are some of the things that RespoHealth will be bringing to the African network, African countries, African context, God helping us. And we need you. We need sponsors, we need partners to help us promote responsive health for the elderly. So there's so many things we can do, so many strategies. Please let us, I've shared a lot of links there on the group so we can learn from. Again, we've been talking about this topic, elder abuse and neglect, management within an African context. And we had here with us our amazing guest speaker, Dr. Oluwatoyin Musa. Thank you so much for honoring our invitation. Thank you for everything you've shared. I want, Pelumi, can you drop in there the feedback form just before our guest, everybody leaves? Please, there's a feedback. We want feedback from this session. We want to encourage you to be as much detail as possible. This also be the form that you'll be used to generate your certificate. So everyone that attended needs to complete this form so that you can get your certificate of attendance. So it's been a Hedgewell Health Promotion webinar, having this monthly, or as time goes, we can have more than one in a month. So please, you need to join us as volunteers, as partners, as sponsors. Just a quick announcement there as well, just to also this, at RespoHealth, we believe that identifying patients or clients or older people who are vulnerable to neglect allows us to intervene early and potentially prevent situations that can escalate and lead to harm or even death. So we do this through our care need assessment, programs which we do, going to their homes to assess their care need. There's total care need. We use the comprehensive geriatric assessment form, which we have adopted, and it's very reliable and it's well tested, and feasible. So we use this to assess their need. This helps us to identify some that are neglected. We've identified a lot in the last care need assessment that we did, and we are trying as much as possible to support these older people. So responding appropriately, this is just a take home for all of us. If we witness an abuse, that an older person is being abused, let us respond appropriately and quickly, because if we suspect neglect and we leave them, it's going to deteriorate. We use team approach. So you don't do this alone. You need to involve the family, talk to somebody else, report appropriately. All this will help to improve the health and well-being of the older victims of neglect. So I want to thank you once again. Please, we have 1 minute there. We'll put the link there for the form and the other one for the certificate. Please make sure you come. It will take just 30 seconds for you to do that. Again, as we do that, let us give a round of applause to our special guests and also to appreciate everyone that has attended this webinar. It was very short notice. We apologize for that. We hope to give you enough notice. So please let us fill that form. We won't close here until everybody fills that. So we are 22 here. So let's fill that. And you can leave just last message or something. Just say something in the chat box. How do you feel about the webinar? And we'll so much appreciate. I'm going to share here again, that lovely.
Thank you. Do we have anybody who also wants to make contributions? Anyone from the participants? Anybody? Or they want to share their experience while they're filling the forms? Anybody?
Yeah. So if you want, you can just use the raise hand button, and I'm going to play this video again. I really want
a child in the distance, playing in the rain, the sweet sound of water flowing away, a construction worker coming home from work, two parents and their children going to church. A happy little baby drools on your shirt. not an extraordinary day. Let us have a world of ordinary people living life the way God wants us to. And if we have a world of ordinary people, extraordinary things will happen to me and you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We have 1 minute there. I'm just trying to share something with us as well from some of our past work. So we are on Facebook as RespoHealth Africa. We are on LinkedIn as RespoHealth Africa. You can follow us for some of the updates of what we do. And the quick announcement as well. So we are looking for more volunteers again, and we will be rolling out another set of Christmas meal for the elderly as we approach. So once you see others, please support us. €5, €10, if you're any amount in Nigeria currency or African currency, we'll be putting out the link there. If you have the donate link, GoFundMe link, you can put it in the chat box. Please, we're raising funds to, provide meal, Christmas meal. You know how charitable we care about Christmas meal for the elderly. We're going to be delivering this to their doorstep. We have done this before and we will do it again. And this time around, we want to do it better. We want to reach out to more. The last time we were able to reach only 160 elderly. Our target is 1,000 elderly across Africa. So be part of this, join us, support us, volunteer, donate, whatever thing you can do. Please just support us. So I believe why we are rounding up there. So if you have filled the form, you will have your email as well. So to get a certificate, you'll be sending your certificate across to you via your email that you have registered with. I hope we got. So these are just a couple of some videos that we've done at Christmas Meal for the Elderly. This is Ondo. I'm going to share that there first.
Yes, sure.
Thank you very much.
Don't know what's wrong, something isn't right. Don't feel I belong in the light. Passion has gone and love's taken flight. Things just feel heavy.
Just make sure we complete and then go. That's just the end. Thank you so much.
I'm tasting no tears, I'm fighting no fear. Still there's a hole in my heart to decide. It's true that I don't have.
Happy and Merry Christmas.
So make small package.
when you and the family ready for manage for Christmas, yeah? Okay, then.
Oluwapelumi, over to you. Thank you so much. We just use this time to keep sharing the links. Make sure you're
Please,
filling
someone, please. Yeah, please. I think you should resend that form. Somebody from my KTM Foundation said she sent a message. I don't know whether you are able to read it, that she's unable to probably finish filling the form and she was posted, something like that. Yes, please, can you resend?
Please resend the link.
Yeah, I hope she's still here. Yes, I hope she's still here.
Okay,
please
thank
resend
you.
to her. She's the Director of Education for the foundation.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Let me please share and we can.
I appreciate you. Thank you, ma'am, for coming.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Okay.
So I'll just keep sharing the videos. If you still want to be here to see everything we do, please, you can still click on. Otherwise, once you're done with the filling of the form, Elumi, you can let us know where we are heading. Thank you. Elumi, can you hear me? Okay. I can't hear Pelemi. So I want to thank everyone for joining in. That'll be the end for today. We hope that you join us again. We have your emails, so we will be in touch with you when we have our next webinar. Thank you so much. Have a lovely evening. God bless you.
Get the certificates via email, right?
Yes, they get a certificate via email. Just make sure you fill the feedback form so that we can have your email with us. Thank you.
Hi, sorry, please, do you have any branch in Ibadan or your state?
Thank you, everybody that has supported me to attend this webinar.
Just fill in the form. We will link you up to the coordinator of Oyo State. So we do have in Oyo State, yes. I think Lawa is there. Lawa is there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Mrs. Obani, thank you. All the way from Lagos, thank you.
So much. Well done. Yes, ma. Well done, ma. To the organizers of this program, it's a very insightful one. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. The meeting will be coming to an end now. God bless you. Bye for now.
Thank you everyone for joining the meeting. Thank you everyone.